I am Asha, born and raised in Sunamganj, a Haur area in the northeastern part of Bangladesh. We are a family of 4 and I am the youngest. My father is a farmer and my eldest brother is studying in a college. Due to the financial instability, I got dropped from grade 5. However, my father supported my elder brother to continue his studies. I also got married off at the age of 15 like many other girls from my locality. My mother was totally against my father's decision to get me married, but she was unsuccessful in convincing him. My father happily married me off to his acquaintance's son. The day I was leaving my family behind, I could not stop sobbing. Initially, it was difficult to adapt to the unequal responsibilities and realities of marriage. Slowly, I adjusted to the new married life. Besides, I also helped my husband with his work from time to time. Our understanding with each other became stronger each passing day. One day, when he was in a relaxed mood, we talked for hours by the riverbank and shared funny childhood memories and my sadness of being a school dropout. I shared my urge to continue studying. I insisted that he enroll me to high school. He gave me a confused look and said aloud,
"Are you mad? What will our neighbors and relatives think? When will we start family planning? Will you be safe while commuting to school and back?"
"You're overthinking," I told my husband. "Attending school will be beneficial for our future."
I started school the following week, waking up early in the morning to complete the household chores, actively learning, doing homeworks regularly, and making like-minded friends was my new routine.
One day, while coming back from school, I started to feel very nauseous. Later in that day, I was found out to be pregnant. My husband, in-laws, and neighbors were extremely happy. While pregnant, I had to manage school, household chores, and work in the paddy field with my husband when needed. As time flew by, I was becoming a good time manager and soon passed my secondary school certificate with distinction. In the next coming month, we were gifted with a beautiful son. One day as I was returning from college, I heard a shocking and heartbreaking news. I could not believe my eyes. I saw my husband's dead body lying on the ground. He was struck by a thunderstorm lightning while working at the paddy field. I kept crying and screaming and saying aloud, "What would I do without him?" In that same year, the tough monsoon season led to inundation of our village. Water entered my house and the water level almost reached the height of our bed overnight. We took shelter on the top of my house's rooftop. Later, we were able to move to a faraway school with some dry food and a portable tin stove. Each passing day, I was becoming sadder and worried as my savings decreased to feed myself and my toddler. In the midst of all this chaos, one afternoon, I met our respected 55 years old Aleappa at the bazaar. She was very happy to run into me and gave my baby boy ample blessings. Later, she asked,
"Why don't you start working and earning, Asha?"
Priorly, she received several trainings from several NGO and INGOs which allowed her to form a committee of 20 to 25 women. She invited me to attend her monthly meetings where they discuss practical ideas to sustain livestock and rice cultivation during flash floods, receive training on animal vaccination, learn to save, and make business schemes. After attending the meetings, I learned that our committee's saving account has provision for providing and lending money to serve the vulnerable people's needs. Aleappa empathized with my situation and lent me 7,000 taka from their savings account. She patted my shoulders and said,
"This is your time to shine again."
I took a couple of days to think and decide on how to best utilize the fund, keeping in mind I have a baby to take care of as a single mother. As I always dreamt of becoming a tutor in my village, I finally got the chance to turn this into a reality. So as a next step, I opened a personal bank account with the support of Aleappa. I really appreciated the flexibility she gave me in utilizing the fund according to capability. The fund helped me to repair my damaged house, purchase second-hand benches and tables, and purchase some basic stationery and whiteboard. After discussing with neighbors and family members, I named the school Asha Pathshala. When the students started coming, I whispered to myself, "Wow, Asha, you did it." For each student of class 1 to 5, I decided to charge 150 to 200 taka per month, depending on their socio-economic status. After finishing tutoring, I always spent time with my baby boy and wondered how proud my husband would have been to witness my effort and dedication. Within the next 3 months, many children from the surrounding villages came to my Ashar Pathshala. I became famous and received acknowledgement as Master Appa. One fine morning, Ronnie Bhai from our area came to see me. He worked as an active and humble field mobilizer for an NGO. He could not believe his eyes when he saw my venture. He right away asked me,
"What motivated you to initiate this? How did you receive the funding? What can local NGOs or grassroots organizations do better to support this initiative?"
I answered all his questions frankly and emphasized the need to raise awareness on disaster risk reduction and climatic hazards. This would help to minimize the knowledge gaps in the community and reduce casualties from sudden thunderstorm lightning. It again brought back all my grim memories of my husband's death. On behalf of his NGO, he showed interest in disseminating relevant information on disasters and climatic hazards to the parents and children who were part of my tutoring sessions. After weeks, he provided me with some relevant reading materials. While going through the reading materials and explaining them to the cohort, I myself found it difficult to comprehend as it was wordily written in English and Bengali language, so I had to narrate using the local dialect. The next day, I went to Ronnie Bhai's office and informed him about facing difficulties while comprehending the reading materials to others. After a few weeks, Ronnie Bhai came to visit with a big smile on his face. He carried the revised reading materials. This was an unusual scenario where our NGO personnel was listening to the community's needs.
"Asha Appa, we have a current project aimed to support the adaptive capacity of women and girls during climatic hazards. My NGO has received long-term funding of 5 to 7 years from an INGO. I was thinking, with this funding you can clear your earlier debts, scale up your Ashar Pathshala in nearby villages by recruiting more teachers like yourself, and also help us set up a local knowledge hub for women and girls."
Ronnie Bhai also mentioned that the international donors visited our Haur area 1 year back to better understand the culture, local context, and major vulnerabilities of local communities. This gave them a better idea to design the project.
We just have to be transparent while utilizing the money given by the donors and have regular meetings with the INGOs, both online and in person, to embed trust amongst ourselves.
Ronnie Bhai, speaking from my past experience, it would be great if you can convince the INGO to simplify the processes to monitor and report on project's activities. For instance, taking pictures and recording videos through smartphones, and co-developing the local metrics to assess the need of climate change adaptation interventions. This trend would also encourage the donors to know where to allocate more funds.
Aliappa also suggested Ronnie Bhai to have an anonymous complaint box at their office so that the project can be improved throughout. A few days later, Ronnie Bhai came with a group of young researchers from the INGO. A group of women, girls, and youth gathered enthusiastically in my classroom and greeted them as they arrived. The researchers initially asked us to introduce ourselves and slowly wanted to learn about our lived realities during flash floods and frequent thunderstorm lightning. We shared our challenges such as limited livelihood opportunities, increased economic and non-economic losses, and damages ranging from losing agricultural yield to facing cultural and biodiversity loss. After having conversations with us, the researchers huddled in groups and decided on the modality of delivering the training in an impactful manner. They seemed really proactive and could easily explain climate change through performing a theater-like performance. They explained the rising frequency and intensity of climate change. Meanwhile, Ronnie Bhai was actively recording the whole role-playing sessions with his phone for providing similar training to other communities in our village. At the end of the session, the researchers wanted to hear our reflections. Weeks after the young researchers left our village, I recalled how they emphasized the importance of raising our voices, opinions, and decisions in workshops, projects planning, and implementation meetings. In the next months, along with Aleapa, we met the local government officer to share the project's activities and seek assistance to co-finance our work and connect us with other relevant department officers. I said to the Nirbahi officer, "Sir, it would be ideal to have relevant government's research institutions collaboratively disseminating knowledge on climate-resilient agricultural practices, strengthening social protection for smallholders, farmers, livestock, fisheries and rice production, showcasing good adaptation practices from Bangladesh, and developing sustainable value chains which will raise income security." Aleapa nodded her head as I spoke. I also advocated to the Nirbahi officer to raise awareness and disseminate knowledge to grassroots organizations and NGOs on convincing the climate-vulnerable communities to have provision of revolving funds when they form committees. Aleapa said,
At the local level, community members could contribute their own money to fund and utilize it, to learn technical skills to access and manage the fund, and to create a sense of ownership and empowerment for supporting their climate change adaptation priorities.
I wish for the same progressive collaborative efforts of local stakeholders to tackle the climate crisis just like we did in our village for other climate vulnerable communities too. Indeed, accessibility to adequate knowledge and sustainable local financing is crucial to inevitably continue the battle against the odds of climatic hazards.